Today we're in the neighborhood of Estrela in Lisbon, and oof, do we have a lot of ground to cover because it is quite a big district here, but it's close to the center and it's a good mix of residential and commercial. I'm Kalie with Expats Everywhere, and we're going to show you this beautiful neighborhood. We are here in Lisbon breaking down top expat neighborhoods you should consider if you want to live here. We researched and asked other content creators who live here in Lisbon what they think are the top neighborhoods for expats. Watch our whole series to see the neighborhoods we chose, and be sure to stay to the end of each of the episodes to see how Josh and I would rate the neighborhoods and if we would live there. Now let's talk about Estrela.
Estrela is a large neighborhood in the western part of Lisbon. It's not super connected by metro, but there are lots of buses and tram stops. It's fairly flat by the river, but the rest of the neighborhood is really hilly.
It does have a few main train stations though that have commuter trains, such as heading west towards Cascais and also getting north along the coast up to Orient. If you're on the east side of the neighborhood, then it's easy to walk into some of the downtown areas of Lisbon. It might be a bit of a trek if you're more on the west side though.
The good news about being on the west is that you're closer to another more local neighborhood called Ajuda, and a popular and hip location for food and drinks called LX Factory. But back into Estrela, you'll find a few good parks like Estrela Gardens and a beautiful cemetery that was founded in 1717.
There's a top-of-the-line hospital here too, so for those of you who would like to be near a hospital, you'll find CUF here. It's close to the water and in the area of the neighborhood that's a little flatter compared to more of the northern part of the neighborhood that shares the border with Campo de Rique and is hillier.
Yeah, this district is beautiful with a lot to offer. It has options for renting and is mixed with gardens, popular monuments, and lookouts. It's located in the historic part of Lisbon. Several embassies are here, and they're housed in grand buildings.
This palace was built in the 18th century and originally was a convent, but now it is a palace, and of course the view across from it can't be beat. So there's this palace with an amazing lookout, then right behind it is a great park where you can find peacocks and even a cactus garden here.
Estrela has a good mix of tourism and locals. Since it does have a lot of beautiful buildings, you'll feel the draw of tourists here, but there are lots of apartment buildings and local businesses for those of you who choose to live here. There are a few gyms around, but for the size of the neighborhood, it's a bit surprising that there aren't more options within the borders.
São Bento Palace is in the neighborhood of Estrela, and this is the official residence of the Prime Minister of Portugal. Estrela Basilica is also something we're seeing, and it's right by Estrela Gardens, and there's also a lookout. So all of these great things to see, so what are accommodation prices like here?
Now, like we said, there are a good variety of apartment options here. You can find a place with a great view of the bridge or other parts of the city. It's possible to find a T1 for rent as low as 600 euros a month. A good budget to consider when renting a T1 is anywhere from 600 to 850 euros per month.
Estrela offers larger options too, which definitely helps cater to families. If you're looking for something like a T3, expect to pay between 1,300 to 2,000 euros, but prices could be higher if you add things like a parking spot and other building amenities.
Now, to buy, it's possible to find a small T1 for around 150,000 euros, but you'll probably want to make some upgrades at this price point. Add more square meters and renovate it, then you're looking at closer to 200,000 euros. Go even bigger like a T3, then plan for at least 300,000 euros, and a range of that up to 375,000 euros.
The wide sidewalks allow for easy walking, but not without some incline. It's popular for families because of the parks and walkability, but it does have a variety of coffee shops and bars, so really a little bit of something for everyone, but probably a little quieter compared to some other neighboring districts of Lisbon. However, closer east, the more it picks up.
Since the southern part of this neighborhood is along the water, it gives you great views of the bridge. And if you're up high enough, you can see the Sanctuary of Christ the King statue on the other side of the river, which was inspired by Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio.
Lapa is a bairro within the freguesia of Estrela, so when researching this area, you'll see that they are together. There are a few international and private schools in this neighborhood and just outside of its borders, so pretty close overall for those of you who are looking for schools. Now, this area is a bit more peaceful compared to other parts of Lisbon, with more space and green areas. Could Josh and I live here?
Let's talk about it. All right, babe, so what do you think?
Okay, so Estrela, I thought it was quite a big neighborhood, so it was kind of hard to unpack in such a short time, but it is a bit hilly, depending on where you are, especially if you're in the southern part and then you walk up, you get kind of this really steady incline up a hill. But when you're in the northern part, I really like that you've got the basilica there, you've got the really pretty gardens. It feels a little quieter, not as touristy. So I really liked it. What about you?
I think the food and beverage scene was really epic.
Epic?
Yeah, I thought that there were really great options, and the prices were good. There were several Nepalese restaurants we went by. So if you like Nepalese or Indian food, you've got that as an option. They weren't very expensive. Then you also have some brunch options that are great. LX Factory, like we said, which is outside, but it's really close. You're not that far away from Belém. So if you like that and you want to cruise down to Belém, maybe get one of the little electric scooters and do that.
True.
It's possible. That was a pro tip from Dan and Michelle from Honeymoon Always.
Yeah.
They would slide down there, get a pastel, and then come back.
Using the scooters?
Yeah. The proximity to international schools could be a great option for people with kiddos. Obviously, our little one's 2 years old, working on 3, so we're still a couple years away from that.
Sure. I thought it had a lot of apartment building options as well. Yeah. Because it's such a big neighborhood, you kind of get different feels of different parts of it too. I would say down by the river feels very differently than all the way up by the gardens. So it's a quite diverse neighborhood.
Yeah, and speaking of that diversity, I think that there still feels or appears to be more buildings that need to be renovated, updated, whatever you want to call it. So it didn't feel as maybe well established in a way as some of the other neighborhoods, like Príncipe Real, kind of had that old, like real rich feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gathered that it's really spread out. So it was hard to kind of take it all in, and the different pockets felt differently as well.
It seems like in a good location though, because like you were saying, to the west you do have another smaller, more local type neighborhood. You've got the LX Factory, which is nice. Then to the east, you're getting down into, the more popular areas of Lisbon. It's not too far to walk into there, and you start to get some really good restaurants there on the east side. All throughout Estrela, you've got good restaurants, but you get a little further east into the downtown area and you get some really good restaurants. So I don't know, it seems like it has a little bit of everything, but it'll feel differently depending on where you live in there. I mean, maybe the northern part would be a bit nicer for me because of the gardens and such, especially because you get the different lookouts for the bridge and the river and seeing across. So
yeah, like let's talk about ratings, because I'm really conflicted here. So 1 to 5, how would you rate it? 1 being you would not want to live there, and then 5 being you'd absolutely want to live there. Where do you sit?
I give this neighborhood a 4.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to surprise you because I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
And I don't know, there was just something internally. I didn't feel like, I felt like after visiting other neighborhoods in Lisbon, there were more neighborhoods that were more livable.
Okay, and I feel that about, I think Estrela was more livable than some of the other neighborhoods that we're featuring. So like that feeling to it was like, I could totally live here.
Yeah, this is like a pure feeling. I walked around, I think a lot more than Kalie to film like every square meter of the neighborhood. And I don't know, there was just something, the hills definitely were annoying.
The hills are tough.
Yeah.
That would be hard.
Down by the water, flat, nice, easy to film, easy to get around. I didn't get the sense that there was this neighborhood feel.
No, it's too spread out. It still feels kind of like city feeling, like it's its own little city there.
Yep, and then there were also a decent amount of tourists. Certainly people that are either staying at Airbnbs near the city center, which Estrela is near the city center, or people that are staying at Airbnbs in the city center and then they walk out to Estrela or Uber or Bolt or whatever, giving shout outs to those car ride share companies. But they were there, and they were there in droves, and they were taking up spots at the tables. And so I wonder if you're a resident, like how easy is it to get a table at one of these restaurants, one of these trendy restaurants that you'd want to enjoy being in your neighborhood? You probably have to make a reservation.
But I think it felt very livable as far as being in the center area. So not as hectic and chaotic as some of the other areas of Lisbon down in the center, but still well connected being so close to those areas. A bit more livable, but there will be more of a buzz compared to other neighborhoods around the Lisbon city.
And the prices were good.
The prices,
price
yes.
in that neighborhood, I think, it's well priced.
Definitely.
It's fair. Yeah. So if you guys want to check out more about the neighborhoods here in Lisbon, we've created a playlist just for you. Click on this playlist right here. Now, let's get moving.
Bye.
Bye.